Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm going to go my review of Monday Night Raw, and welcome to your Monday Night Raw post show. Starting off tonight, we got Seth Rollins and The Vision coming out to the ring. Rollins grabs a microphone. He reminds the fans who he is, as well as the new Crown Jewel champion. Rollins then hypes up The Vision. He praises Paul Heyman, as well as Breakker. Rollins says that Breakker is the undisputed future of WWE. Rollins then also praises Bronson Reed. Rollins then says that nobody is on his level, and that he has never needed anybody for his success. Rollins says that Reigns needed the Shield and Rhodes needed Rollins to help Rhodes finish his story. Rollins says that he didn't need the Vision, but instead he wanted the Vision. Some interesting stuff there from Seth Rollins. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of the night. It is Dominic Mysterio defending the Intercontinental title against Penta. I thought it was a good match, man. Back and forth matchup between Mysterio and Penta, with Mysterio and Penta both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Penta hits a Hurricane Rana on Mysterio. Penta then hits a backdrop, sending Mysterio over the announce table. Penta was trying to keep the pace of the match, but Dominic Mysterio hits a tope into a DDT on the outside, taking out Penta on the outside. Dom then gets back in the ring. He mocks Penta. Dominic then hits an enziguri on Penta. Penta then hits a Penta driver on Dominic Mysterio for a near fall. Rusev is here. Penta then quickly attacks Rusev. Dominic Mysterio then grabs the Timekeeper's hammer, as well as the Intercontinental title. Referee is distracted. Dominic then hits Penta with the hammer, followed by Dominic hitting a 619, followed by a frog splash off the top rope. Pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and still Intercontinental Champion is Dominic Mysterio. Hats off to Dominic Mysterio for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Rhea Ripley taking on Kairi Sane. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Rhea and Kairi Sane, with Kairi keeping the pace of the match. Io was ringside, as well as Asuka. Io then attacks Asuka ringside. Kairi then hits an elbow drop, followed by Rhea getting up, hitting a Razor's Edge, sending Kairi across the ring. Rhea then hits her signature Riptide on Kairi Sane, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Rhea Ripley. After the match, you can see Asuka attacking Io. Kairi then attacks Rhea with a kendo stick, and then Asuka hits a DDT on Rhea off the announce table. Some interesting stuff there between Asuka and Rhea Ripley. Moving on from that, we are going to our next match of the night. It's Jimmy Uso taking on Bronson Reed. A little bit of a grudge match here between Jimmy and Bronson Reed. The match itself is a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Jimmy and Bronson Reed, with Reed keeping the pace of the match. Jimmy then hits a Uso in the win on Reed, but Reed somehow gets up, hits a tsunami on Jimmy Uso, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Bronson Reed. After the match, you can see Breakker come out to the ring. He spears Jimmy Uso, followed by Breakker hitting another spear on Jimmy as well. Jey Uso is here. Jey then attacks Reed. Jey then was telling Jimmy, "I told you." Jimmy then was telling Jey that he did not need his help. It looks like the Usos need to try to figure it out and get their shit together, especially leading into this year's War Games. So, looks like there's some unfinished business here between the Usos. Moving on from that, we got a tag team matchup. It is Lyra Valkyria teaming up with Bayley to take on Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. The match itself was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Lyra and Bayley keeping the pace of the match. Perez then hits a Hurricane Rana, followed by Perez hitting a springboard moonsault. Lyra then smacks Bayley. This pretty much wakes Bayley up, and she snaps out of it. Has this sinister laugh after she is smacked by Lyra Valkyria, which allowed Bayley to hit an elbow drop off the top rope, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Hats off to Bayley and Lyra Valkyria for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our main event of Monday Night Raw. It is a number 1 contenders matchup, triple threat match. It is Jey Uso taking on CM Punk versus LA Knight, where the winner will be the new number 1 contender to Seth Rollins' World Heavyweight title. The match itself, it was a decent match, man. It's a good match. Back and forth matchup between Jey, Punk, and LA Knight, with Punk trying to keep the pace of the match. Punk then hits an elbow drop on LA Knight. Knight then hits an elbow drop of his own on Jey Uso and CM Punk for a near fall. Uso then goes to the top rope, hits an Uso splash on LA Knight for a near fall. Knight gets up, hits a BFT on CM Punk in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Punk then gets up, hits a GTS on Jey Uso, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and new number 1 contender for Seth Rollins' World Heavyweight title is CM Punk. After the match, Rollins is here with the Vision. Breaker comes out of nowhere, hits a spear on Jey as well as LA Knight. The Vision then attacks CM Punk in the middle of the ring. Breaker hits a spear on CM Punk. And then Bronson Reed goes to the top rope and lands a devastating tsunami, taking out CM Punk. Some interesting stuff there between the Vision and CM Punk. A couple things I want to talk about, man, before I get the hell up out of here. Number one, this was a solid Raw. It was a decent Raw. I like the way this is slowly starting to play its way out. I told you guys for the Crown Jewel review that we're going to slowly start seeing shit unravel. Whether it's with the Usos, whether it's with Seth Rollins. I mean, my main focus for Seth going into Raw was what was going to be next for Seth Rollins. And we got that answer with the triple threat match for the new number 1 contender for Rollins' World Heavyweight title, where once again will be CM Punk taking on Seth Rollins. So it's going to be very interesting and very telling how this matchup is going to take place. Obviously, there's a lot of hostility here between Rollins and CM Punk. And Punk's going to try to do whatever he can to once again become the World Heavyweight Champion. And hopefully he is successful in doing so. As far as Monday Night Raw is concerned, though, as a whole, man, I thought it was a decent show. I'm not going to sit here and say it was the best Monday Night Raw we've ever seen, but it was a solid show. I thought Dominic Mysterio's match was really good against Penta. To be honest with you, I think Mysterio, man, is going to be one of those guys that you're going to see in the future be a top guy in WWE if he already isn't a top guy. Fans are gravitated towards Dom. He's got the talent. You know, obviously right now he's walking around with the Intercontinental title. He's got a match next week that was scheduled. I think it's going to be Mysterio versus Rusev for the Intercontinental title. The Judgment Day are also in a tag team matchup against AJ Styles and Dragon Lee next week, where the titles will be on the line. So that's going to be a really interesting matchup as well. So looking forward to next week's Raw as well. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Look, man, I'm loving what Bayley's doing. I mentioned this multiple times about Bayley ever since this, she teased this heel turn, if you will. I think it's great for Bayley. I think Bayley needs to turn heel. I like the split personality persona that she's playing out right now on television. I think the one negative I will say about it, though, is I wish they would have changed her entrance music. The role model theme just doesn't fit with what she's doing right now and what she's portraying on television. Especially with the split personality, persona, and everything else like that. I figured they would try to change something with Bayley as far as her theme goes. But I like the direction of where Bayley's going. I think it's going to really benefit Bayley. I mean, I said the same thing about Naomi. When Naomi turned heel and was, a babyface for so long and finally turned heel, and it really benefited Naomi. And, she's going to be missed. Hopefully we will see Naomi soon. But it benefited Naomi tenfold. It really did, to a point where it got her to a Women's World title matchup and became the Women's World Champion. So I'm all for Bayley turning heel. And I think Bayley should have turned heel a long time ago. I think the babyface Bayley just wasn't working. I think a lot of people wanted to see something different with Bayley, and we're starting to finally get it with this split personality persona. So I'm all for it, man. I really am. And the fact in the matchup where you seen Lyra smack Bayley, and Bayley had this sinister laugh where she snapped out of it and then started beating the hell out of Raquel and Roxanne Perez. I thought it was a pretty cool moment in the matchup. We also see AJ Styles talking to Adam Pearce. Like I said, he will be teaming up with Dragon Lee to take on the Judgment Day next week for the tag team titles. Definitely interesting matchup there between those two teams. We also get the triple threat matchup. But I think the main vocal point besides CM Punk would be the Usos. Obviously, the Usos are at a standstill. Nobody knows what's going on. Everybody's kind of out for themselves at this moment. I mean, Jay got pissed off at Jimmy and vice versa because Jimmy had told Jay that he doesn't need his help and that he told him that he doesn't need his help. And Jay's like, look, you got to stick to the plan, man. This is what Roman wanted. We had to stick to the plan. So this is something where both Jimmy and Jay and Roman are kind of at this standstill, if you will, with each other, and everybody wants to be, I wouldn't say the top spot, but they, even with what Roman said at Crown Jewel, that he believes that the fans believe that he can't beat Bronson Reed, that he can't beat the Vision on his own. And I feel like Jimmy and Jay are on the same boat. They want to be one of the guys that beats the Vision, whether it's Bronson Reed or Braun Breaker or Seth Rollins. They want to be the guy. So it's pretty much this back and forth pissing match between Roman, Jimmy, and Jay, to be honest. And that's the way I'm seeing it play out on television. I could be wrong, but that's the way that I see it. So, again, the build-up is going to be interesting leading into War Games. And I made that abundantly clear when I did my Crown Jewel review. It's going to be interesting leading up to next month when we get into Crown Jewel War Games to see how the teams are going to align themselves up, especially with the Vision as well as Roman Reigns and the Usos and who's going to join them. Now, we know CM Punk is going to be tied up with Seth Rollins, and Punk has a world title opportunity against Rollins. So we don't know if Punk's going to be a part of that War Games matchup or not. We don't know. I think Punk's main focus right now is going after Rollins for the World Heavyweight title and once again becoming World Heavyweight Champion. So I don't know if Punk is going to be in the War Games matchup or not. We shall see how things play out in the near future. But I thought it was a solid Raw, man. I didn't think it was that bad. I still think Crown Jewel was one of the best PLEs that we've gotten in the past couple months. I think it was definitely better than what we got at WrestlePalooza. We saw Rhea Ripley as well in a matchup against Kairi Sane. Looks like Asuka and Rhea Ripley has some unfinished business as well. So that storyline's starting to pick up some pace here too as well. So it was a solid Raw. I wasn't expecting a whole lot, especially coming out of, Crown Jewel, but it was a solid Raw. It was an early start time, 8 a.m. Eastern. And I think next week they go back to the normal start time of 8 p.m. Eastern. So, which I honestly prefer that, to be honest with you. But it wasn't a bad show for what we got, to be honest. I think Crown Jewel was really good over in Australia. I thought the fans over there in Perth were awesome and amazing fans. And they showcased that even for Monday Night Raw. It was great. So the fans over in Australia, man, you guys are awesome. But again, man, this was a solid Raw. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was the best Raw ever. It was solid at best. But we're getting matches next week that I'm looking forward to. I know Becky Lynch is also defending the Women's Intercontinental Championship next week against Maxine Dupree, which I'm not against it, considering the fact that the last time we saw Becky Lynch and Maxine Dupree, I was impressed by Dupree, man. I thought it was one of her best matches in her career that she had. I believe it was last week against Becky Lynch, where she ended up getting the win due to a countout. So I'm all for it. I think Maxine Dupree is coming into her own. She's still green, but she's learning as time is going, and she had her best match against Becky. And for those out there, you got to give respect to Becky for Becky putting over Maxine Dupree. So it's definitely a match I'm looking forward to, and hopefully we get a better match than what we got last time between Maxine and Becky Lynch. This might be the match for Maxine's career for this Women's Intercontinental Championship. Now, do I think Becky's going to lose the belt? I don't know. To me, I think they're trying to set up a storyline here between Becky Lynch and AJ Lee. Now, we had not seen AJ Lee since her matchup at WrestlePalooza, so I don't really know what's going on with AJ Lee, but we have not seen her since WrestlePalooza. But to me, if I had to bet on it, I think it would be probably Becky Lynch defending the Women's Intercontinental Championship against AJ Lee at some point with a storyline, some kind of program here between Lynch and AJ Lee. But with that being said, I'm looking forward to the matchup between Maxine and Becky Lynch, and this all takes place next week. So I think it's going to be great, man. I think it's going to be a good show next week as well. A solid show for Monday Night Raw today. And I look forward to next week. We also got SmackDown this week as well. So things are starting to pick up, man. And again, I don't think it's going to be something where each Raw and SmackDown is going to be great every week. It's going to fluctuate. It's not going to be great every single week, whether we want it or not. But, Raw is starting to pick up pace, especially leading into this year's Crown Jewel. SmackDown slowly starting to pick up the pace, which they desperately need to do. Because SmackDown's always been playing second fiddle to Monday Night Raw, so I'm glad they're starting to slowly pick up the pace. But it was a solid show, man. I think Raw was solid from top to bottom. We had some decent matches, some good moments for tonight's Monday Night Raw. So I'm looking forward to next week, and I'm looking forward to Friday Night SmackDown as well. And like I said, it looks like CM Punk is going to be the next challenger to Seth Rollins for Rollins' World Heavyweight title. But with that being said, this is my review of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classy.